And welcome to this week's edition of the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by the Seckler Law Firm, where great families make great plans. My name is Tim Seckler. I am the owner of the Seckler Law Firm, and my job with this radio show each and every week is to make sure that you get the information you need to be able to make good decisions with regard to your family's affairs, your finances, and making good decisions as it relates to things like estate planning, long-term care, and just having a good, successful retirement that you've been thinking about for all these years. Before we get into this episode, I want to do a little disclaimer. This show is not legal advice. This show is general information. I hope you find it informational, educational, and maybe a little entertaining. But we do not want you making any decisions based on what you hear on this or any other radio station for the matter. Every legal situation is different. And if you have unique legal problems, you need to seek counsel so that you make good decisions. This episode, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about some problems with the nursing home admission process. Okay. Now, this may not be something that's like front burner for you. It may not be something that you're thinking you're going to deal with immediately, but this is good information for retirees to know, and especially for those people who are advising retirees and seniors. So if your mom is with a potential need of nursing home care in the not too distant future, this is good information to know, because the way that this works, and the way that just practically it goes, a lot of families can make some mistakes, and they make decisions without having the benefit of time and information to make good decisions. Okay. So I want to talk to you about a nursing home admission and how this works, and some things to be on the lookout for. And then we're also going to chat about some recent legislation that's coming out of the state of New Jersey, which I hope influences some laws in the state of Pennsylvania regarding non-attorneys helping people with nursing home Medicaid applications. It is fraught with the opportunity for fraud, and with the unauthorized practice of law, people giving advice they're not qualified to do, and lots of consumers, lots of senior consumers are making mistakes as a result of it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But first, let's talk about a nursing home admission. So understand that for the purposes of today's episode, when I'm talking about a nursing home, I'm talking about a skilled nursing facility. I'm not talking about an independent living facility. I'm also not talking about a personal care home or an assisted living facility. We're talking about skilled nursing facilities. And this matters for a couple of different reasons, but the primary reason is that skilled nursing facilities are the only care centers that are paid for by Medicaid benefits. Okay. So when someone ends up needing long term care in this country is largely an animal of private pay. You got to pay your way, pay your room and board, pay for your food, pay for the whole bit. But if you are in a nursing home, a skilled nursing facility, now you can get Medicaid to pay for care, but only after you go broke, which is why, many of our episodes on this radio show and the things I like to talk about all the time are about protect your assets, protect your assets, protect your assets. I'm a big believer, after having watched family members and clients go broke over the years due to long-term care expenses, that most upper middle class families ought to consider doing some assets into a trust to protect themselves from these long-term care expenses. And so when you end up in a skilled nursing facility, the average cost of a skilled nursing facility in this country is about $13,000. Okay, in Pennsylvania. Well, 13,000, my goodness, that's what, $160,000 a year. So $160,000 a year times how many years until I'm broke, and then I go on Medicaid, right? And so when somebody goes into a nursing home, they end up looking for Medicaid options really quick. I can't afford 13,000. My wife is still living in our home. I know I have to be here because of my healthcare issues, but we can't go broke over this. And so people start looking for alternatives to paying privately for these bills. Medicaid is usually the best option. Okay, so let's just kind of have that point. Now, here is another thing to think about. In my experience, most people that end up in nursing homes don't go nursing home shopping, right? We don't take the time to go see Sweet Acres versus, Hickory Hills nursing homes, and determine which one we actually is appropriate for us. Yes, personal care homes, independent living facilities, and occasionally skilled nursing facilities. People take the time to go visit a couple of places. But the way nursing home admissions typically work is there's been a healthcare event for a senior who was getting their care somewhere else. All right, they might have been getting their care at home. They might have been getting their care at home with paid help. They might have been in a personal care home, and now an event happens. Could be a medication mistake. Could be a fall. Could be a surgery from which we're not recovering well. Could be a wander event. There's usually some event that occurs where now dad is in a hospital, and then the hospital needs to find a safe place to discharge dad. So now dad is being discharged to a skilled nursing facility where he's there for a rehab stay. Okay. The rehab stay may last a couple of weeks. And then at some point, there's a decision whether dad needs to stay in skilled care or whether he can go home. Okay. So a lot of the time, the seniors that end up in skilled nursing facilities, they are discharged on short notice from a hospital to a skilled nursing facility without a lot of time to shop. Okay, what generally happens is the social workers and care planners and discharge planners at hospitals are trying to find this person a home. They find the person a qualified home that can do good rehabilitation, short term rehab work. But the family, and so then the family is sold on the idea of not sold. Sold's not the right word. The family makes the decision in the interest of short term rehab, but now they've landed dad in a facility that he may stay in for a while. Okay. And we didn't have the opportunity to review that facility's contract. Now we're in a facility, and most families aren't going to move dad once he's in the facility. It's an emotional thing. He just got used to being here. We're not going to move him from Hickory Hills to the Sweet Acres place at this point because he's just got used to the nurses. He's just got the lay of the land. We're not going to move him now. Okay. So now I got to sign the facility's contract. Now here's where the stuff gets confusing. Okay. So I came to this nursing home on a rehab stay. I'm now in this nursing home. And I'm in this nursing home, now there's paperwork in front of me that I have to sign. And here's the thing: their nursing homes are licensed two different ways in Pennsylvania. There are standalone skilled nursing facilities, and then there are facilities that are licensed as continuing care retirement communities. Okay, now continuing care retirement communities have big budgets, big advertising dollars. They're beautiful facilities. Understand that this show, what I'm talking about today, is not a comment on care. It is a comment on the admission and contract process. Okay, so now I'm in one of the beautiful places, the CCRCs, and there's a golden chandelier and a roaring gas fireplace in the cafeteria, and it's great. And then here's this contract that I have to sign. Now, in a standalone skilled nursing facility, here's what's interesting. In a standalone skilled nursing facility, one is not licensed as a continuing care retirement community. Um, that facility cannot require you to sign a contract that gives up your legal rights to take action to qualify for Medicaid benefits. Okay. They cannot have you sign that, which means then families have a full toolbox of options that they can rely upon to do Medicaid planning, to get Medicaid to pay for care. And oftentimes in that setting, we're able to protect significant assets for dad or for mom who's out in the community by doing Medicaid planning. Okay. Now, in contrast to that is the continuing care retirement community. Those places under Medicare regs are allowed to require you to sign a contract that says that you will not take action. You will not divest yourself of assets to protect yourself from and gain eligibility for Medicaid. It's essentially a contract. The way I read it is I agree to go broke in this facility. Okay. If I go broke in this facility, the continuing care retirement communities have a benevolent care fund that says if I go broke, they're gonna still take care of me. So that's like the if you go broke, we got your back thing. But that doesn't do my wife any good, who's living out in our neighborhood, trying to maintain a house because we're now broke. So from my standpoint, if it's Tim Seckler in the nursing home, I don't really want the benevolent care fund. I want the ability to protect my wife. I need the care that I need, but I don't want to sign some contract that says that I have to give up my legal rights to pursue Medicaid benefits so that we're protecting the nursing home's bottom line. That's just how I feel about it. So understand that there is a difference in the contract between a standalone skilled nursing facility and a continuing care retirement community. And in the continuing care retirement community, they all require you to sign some things that gives up some legal rights. And so perhaps you want somebody to review that contract because There are things we can do to protect assets even after someone is in a nursing home. But most families don't understand that. Most families probably assume this facility's contract looks an awful lot like the other facility's contract, and my husband is here and he's getting good care, and I'm just going to sign whatever they put in front of me. And that's the position these families are in. And it's unfortunate that that's the way that it works, but that's the way that it often works. Um, and so perhaps you want to have legal counsel review that contract before you sign it. If you're going to do that, have it signed by somebody that has the experience to explain the thing the way that I just explained the thing, because not all attorneys are going to understand the difference between the way these places are licensed. Now, some of the CCRCs that have this contract, they'll negotiate. Like we'll have a conversation with them, and I'll call the folks at the CCRC and I'll say, hey, listen, I've got a client that is a resident in one of your communities, and let me show you how we can protect your bottom line while still getting the person qualified for Medicaid benefits. And sometimes they will still negotiate with us. So if you find yourselves in one of these situations, perhaps we can negotiate on your behalf. Some of the facilities flat out won't even talk to us. And I'm not going to name names in this radio show, but we've got a nice list and a naughty list in our office. And the thing is that I'm just trying to find seniors care and have them not go broke, understanding that the nursing home, these care facilities are not the bad guy. The care facilities are providing care that our seniors need. The problem is we have this broken government rule book that requires people to go broke. And if you have a broken government rule book that requires people to go broke, I see my job as making sure that they don't go broke, because people didn't work 50, 60 years to go broke in a nursing home. That's not the way that it should be. Okay. Now, that at times pits us against nursing homes, but there's no lack of respect on my part for nursing homes. I'm just trying to help my clients, right? So it's this extremely complicated situation where there's 3, 4 different parties. There's Medicare and Medicaid. There's the nursing home. There's a law firm. There's a patient. There's the doctor. All of these people are just trying to figure out how this whole system works. The unfortunate part is it's the patient and their family who are usually at a disadvantage because they don't know the rules of the game that they're playing. And so today's episode, we're trying to teach you some of the rules of the game. If you're in a situation where this is coming up for you, then perhaps what you want to do is reach out to the law firm and get some guidance. You can find us anytime at 724-546-4227, or go to secklerlawfirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com. And what could we do for you? There's a couple of different things that we do. We see a few different types of cases. We do post-death administration work. If you've ever lost a loved one, we help people serve as executors and honor their parents' wishes. We do a lot of estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney. And when we're doing estate planning, I just philosophically am of the opinion that people should protect themselves from this harsh government system. And so we do a lot of asset protection work. I'm a big believer that lots of upper middle class families should take steps to protect their home and some money from long-term care expenses, because there are people going broke in these facilities, right? So we do a lot of asset protection work. And then the third type of case that we see are people who are in nursing homes or on their way to nursing homes, and we're trying to advise them on Medicaid benefits. Now, and I'll give you an example. I, as a lawyer, am not allowed to promise results, but I can tell you what I've seen occur over the years is when a married couple, one spouse goes into a nursing home, and let's say dad's in the nursing home, and mom, the healthy spouse, comes into our office to talk about, well, I need to do some planning. I can't afford $13,000 a month. We're going to go broke. In those cases, it is not uncommon for families in Pennsylvania to be able to protect 80, 90% of their net worth, even after the nursing home admission, with some proper legal tools. Okay, so it requires legal strategies to hold assets a certain way. And once you do it, you can become immediately eligible for the Medicaid to pay the nursing home and save yourself $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 a month on that long-term care cost. So if you know someone who is currently in a nursing home or who is going to be in need of a nursing home, they should contact us, or they should contact another certified elder law attorney to walk through, okay, here's what the contract is going to do and whether we want to sign it or not. And then here are the things that we can do to protect your mom, protect your dad from these harsh expenses. Okay. And then one other tip just to consider if you're ever in a position of having there's an entire industry of cases out there where people get hurt in nursing homes, right? Now, listen, providing care in a nursing home is difficult. The people are sick to begin with, they're frail to begin with, they have mobility issues to begin with, but people do get injured in nursing homes. In the nursing home contract, there is often an arbitration clause. It's a voluntary arbitration clause that says if you, the resident in the nursing home, ever find ourselves in a litigation standpoint over a potential neglect abuse case or whatever the thing is, we agree to arbitrate. Now, under Medicare guidance, nursing homes cannot require residents to sign an arbitration clause, which essentially gives up your right to full-blown litigation and in all likelihood results in lower recovery. They cannot require a resident to sign an arbitration clause. However, you can do so voluntarily. So they sure as heck slide that provision into the contract. I hereby agree to arbitration, because most of your typical consumers have no idea what the word arbitration means, and so they just initial the thing. Whereas, maybe you want to consider that might not be in your best interest. Okay. All right. So now here's an interesting thing. From my standpoint, when people go into nursing homes and they are over resourced for Medicaid, which means they're now private paying, they're going through their resources, paying for a nursing home, paying for a nursing home, paying for a nursing home, 13 grand a month indefinitely until we run out of money. Like I said earlier here, there are lots of things you can do to protect assets in that position. Okay. Now, but the techniques that we would employ to help you protect assets almost always involves a complicated strategy of moving the house around, moving money around. There are tax ramifications. We might have to redo somebody's will. We might have to redo somebody's power of attorney. We might have to, we're always doing legal work in these cases, right? So you have to work with an elder law attorney to have the full toolbox. Here's the challenge. There is a new cottage industry springing up of non-attorneys offering to do Medicaid applications for people in nursing homes. Let's think about that for a second. Non-attorneys go into a nursing home, talk to the folks at the nursing home, and say something like, you should send us your patients when they come in. We'll get them eligible for Medicaid. We'll charge them less than an attorney because we're not giving them legal advice. And then we'll get them eligible for Medicaid. Your bill will be paid. So then people go into the nursing homes and they're handed a business card of somebody that's probably called like Medicaid Solution of Pennsylvania or something. And then the person thinks, oh, this sounds legit. And they sign a contract and they go on about, not knowing that these providers cannot give legal advice. They cannot give legal advice. They're not lawyers. But the general consumer doesn't know that probably I should consider hiring a lawyer, because the lawyer might have more tools in the toolbox, since these guys are not allowed to practice law. So let's talk about this for a second, because New Jersey, this whole practice has now caught the attention of the New Jersey government. So I hope soon it catches the attention of the Pennsylvania government, because there's this new industry of people that are unregulated, that have no insurance, that are providing guidance with regard to Medicaid eligibility to seniors who are an at-risk population for fraud in the first place, and saying things like, if you don't do this, you could get kicked out of the nursing home. And so here's a senior who's already in an extremely stressful position being sold this bill of goods that you need to go do this thing or you might get kicked out. And so here's what New Jersey is doing. New Jersey, I'm reading an article out of the state of New Jersey, and it says that there's a state senator that has proposed a bill in New Jersey that would prohibit Medicaid application assisters who are not attorneys from charging or providing Medicaid application assistance to nursing home residents or their families. And then there's another one by somebody else in New Jersey. Okay, so here's what they're saying. They're saying that we need to have a law against this happening, because there are abuses occurring. The bill, which called for safeguards involving the control of financial affairs of nursing home residents, would require anyone providing Medicaid application assistance to prospective residents at a nursing home to disclose any financial relationship they may have with the nursing home or any related companies. Now, there's an interesting thing. The Medicaid application processor is going to be required to disclose a financial relationship with the nursing home. Let's think about that for a second. So the person who's saying to the senior, I will help you with your Medicaid application, has a financial relationship with the nursing home. Well, okay, so then it must be something like this this application processor is saying things to the nursing home like, hey, we will help you with certain paperwork on your end. Hey, you nursing home can pay us to do certain services, and then we will also sell Medicaid application services to your resident, which is clearly a conflict of interest. So the New Jersey legislature is seeing fit to propose a bill to prohibit this, and Pennsylvania is not doing anything, and I wonder if this is a thing in Pennsylvania, but you sure need to be looking at it. Here's what the legislator said: we want people to who are doing this type of work acting on behalf of nursing home residents and not solely for the nursing facilities themselves. The rules will ensure they represent the interests of the nursing home residents. And here's another thing. So there was a guy in New Jersey who has been apparently charged with some crimes. Um, and they sort of caught on to him, which is what spurs this. There's an attorney whom I actually happen to know who has an office out in New Jersey and in Philadelphia, and he says many of the firms have relationships with the owners or the operators of nursing homes because they also do billing and connection work for them. It's a self-referral. They're not acting in the resident's best interest. They're acting in the best interest in the nursing home because that's their food source. That's where the money's coming from. And then so families pay several $1,000s to these nursing home application processors, and there are things they're not allowed to advise. Like, remember 10 minutes ago in the show, if you didn't catch it, you can catch the rerun and on my website. But the I said before that when somebody's in a nursing home, there are things we can do to protect 80-90% of the person's money on occasion. Well, that involves legal work. We're transferring assets. There's taxes involved. We might have to give advice on income taxes and real estate transfer taxes and the implication on who receives an inheritance because dad's will says this. And if we do these moves, maybe it's not going to work out that way. There's no way you can do this work without being an attorney. And so what they're saying is you're going to pay this company several $1,000s who may or may not have a financial interest in the with the nursing home to do a Medicaid application process, and they don't have all the tools in the toolbox that somebody like an elder law attorney may be able to do. So this is pretty, and then in this article, and if anybody's interested in the article, just reach out to my office and I'll get it to you. But there's people who have complained that they're paying $6,000 to do these things, and the guy didn't do anything. There are non-attorney agencies and companies which may offer to prepare and submit a Medicaid application. These entities are not permitted to give legal advice or to implement legal strategies that may best protect your interests. They are not obligated to advise you of your rights. And here's another thing that they don't point out in the article is we help people with these things, but I'm an attorney. I'm allowed to advise people on all these issues. And we understand this stuff we understand this stuff way better anyhow, because there's no way these guys might actually know Medicaid application rules. In fact, probably some of them used to work in the Medicaid office. But what they don't know is they don't know how that interacts with wills and how that interacts with taxes and how that interacts with capacity determinations and how all these other components that work into a legal plan. And so I guess the message here is be real careful, because if these guys make a mistake, and they almost certainly will because they don't have all the tools in the toolbox, given the facts, they're probably going to make some mistakes, or there's a high likelihood they're going to make mistakes. But there's one other distinguishing factor between hiring a law firm for this work and hiring a non-attorney processor for this work, which may soon be outlawed in the state of New Jersey. The big determination factor is if I screw up, and I've never had to rely on this, not once, but if I screw up, lawyers have malpractice insurance. These guys don't. So if they make a mistake, which accidentally costs a family $50,000 in taxes they didn't have to pay, who are you going to sue? This guy's out of town before the lawsuit hits the courthouse, right? And so, at least working with a lawyer, whether you work with my law firm or someone else, if you find yourself in this position, I encourage you, please work with a lawyer, because one, we have more tools in the toolbox. Two, we have our license that are at risk. These guys are unlicensed and unregulated. And three, we have insurance if we would happen to make a mistake in your case. And I hope to go my entire career without making a mistake. I never have had to rely on insurance, but I do have an insurance policy if I make a mistake, which means that you have an insurance policy against me if there would be a mistake. So just some things to think about. And it really bugs me that these guys are moving into Pennsylvania, because I think that they're going to make some mistakes. This is complicated in Pennsylvania, and there are going to be seniors who make mistakes, lose money, and they're not even going to know about it. So just be real careful. If you ever find yourself in this situation, one, understand not all nursing home contracts are equal. And two, be very, very wary of someone that is a non attorney telling you that they can help you with the things that the attorneys can help you with. They don't have the same toolbox. I hope you found this show educational, but remember, it's for your education and information. It is not legal advice. If you have a legal problem, reach out. You can find us at sechlerlawfirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com. And I thank you for listening. Have a great week.